Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Ultrakill song reaction. I didn't actually expect to see more than one this quick, but here we are. This one is Order by Heaven Pierce Her. I was assuming it was going to be another Kijin Church song if I was going to get one from Ultrakill. So having another song from this franchise was kind of a surprise, especially from a different band, which I didn't even know was going to be a thing. I thought it was just going to be all Kijin Church. So I suppose we now have to get a read on this group's personality, so without further ado, let's go! This one's also like notably longer than the average song I would listen to on here, so it's gonna be a journey. Still definitely has that MIDI aesthetic that Kijin Church did. And honestly, for all I know, these could be the same people, just under a different alias. I'm not sure. Very same flavor of dissonance, that's for sure. Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be halftime. Much more metal, way less demonic church. It's like symphonic metal for sure, but kind of has that doomcore aesthetic. I like that just 3-note bass line. And now it's just back to 2. I mean, there's that like underneath it, but just those solid long notes. Ooh. Ooh. Hey. I've got to figure there are people who have done like metal covers of these songs. There's no way that there haven't been. They're asking for it, you know? I'm not gonna lie, some people are probably gonna hate me for this, but the drums and like the more electronic synthy drums underneath everything kind of sound breakbeaty. It reminds me a little bit of like Slipknot, especially in their like maybe second or third album. Definitely has a lot of that influence there. Those breakbeaty drums do carry a lot of legacy on their back, in the metal genre at least. This has surprisingly a lot of layers. Like, there's a lot happening in this song. I wasn't sure how deep it was gonna go, but they're definitely not cutting corners on what they're including. I like the constant, like, there's multiple rhythmic structures happening throughout as well. It's keeping me awake and focused. Though I could definitely see how this might be overwhelming for certain people to listen to. I really like the ability to kind of bob my head to whatever rhythm decides to take over for the moment. We're back to this. With how heavy this entire like riff is here, it feels almost like slower than halftime. There's just so many layers. Like I'm like filtering through all of them, just listening to each one on its own. And there's just so many to kind of, I guess, work through. It's really dense, given how limited the actual sound fonts are for this. Doing a lot of heavy lifting with very little to work with. That symphonic metal like melody happening is really carrying the emotion very, very well. It's like I want to pick a single way to like bob my head to this, but I can't. I keep switching between the different structures that are available to me. Now it's fading out now. I gotta feel like that song was probably a repeat just played twice for most of it. Then it would probably just loop back in from there. I gotta assume as much. There's a lot in this song, a lot more than I thought. So there was like a little bit of a lot with this song. As I mentioned during the reaction, the sound font is not all that like expansive. There's pretty limited samples and like MIDI style, like the sound fonts that you use for those and what you're able to do with those. There's not much in here. There's like the same, like the strings, the drums, and then like the chorus, the choir in there. And it's like, that's it. More or less. And they're expanding that so well. They're working with just those and making so much of that. They're putting a lot of effort into making the most of what little they have. And that's really neat how big they were able to make this sound. Like I had mentioned, the like breakcore drums in there felt a little bit like Slipknot, which is perfectly fine by me. I don't mind that at all. I actually like that aesthetic being thrown into like this new metal, like grunge metal aesthetic in here. I like that. And the way that they even went as far to blend like a few different subgenres of metal to this song. It felt a little bit symphonic. It felt a little bit doom metal. It felt a little bit of everything. There were so many different aesthetics happening in this one piece, and like I had mentioned, all of the different pattern structures being shared. None of the instrument layers really felt like they were ever doing the same thing, you know? Like the choir would hold off on long notes while the bass line underneath everything would be kind of moving around pretty rapidly, and then like the root bass of just like those long notes holding out for who knows how long each, I think about a measure each, and just holding that root down while everything else moved around freely above it. Of course, you get like the strings and guitar doing their own thing as well. And all of that was done with so few samples. So that's a lot. This is just a masterful work of how to compose using those limited resources. And you know that the composer of this probably didn't have to limit themselves that much, but they just did. You know, you don't need to have too much going on, and it probably makes it a little bit more coherent in the mind, especially when you have so many things moving around on top of each other, to not have too many different samples being used. So just brilliant work. I don't know really what else to say about this one. They even had a key change in there, for God's sake. Like somewhere near like the first third, there was like a whole like step lift that led to an entirely different section of the song. This is a movement. This is a work of art, not just a song. This is something that is fully composed to tell a story and be a piece, rather than just being a song. Like, it's not just going, it's in a video game, no need to spend that much effort on it. You know, it's like, get it done, throw it out there, it doesn't matter. This isn't doing that. It's like treating itself like it should, like its own unique piece of art, and allowing itself that room to grow and become its own thing. And the Keijin Church song kind of did that too. This one just being longer, it feels a lot more of that energy, where it's like, I feel like I'm sitting in an experience. I have to focus on a lot, and there is definitely merit in that. Even in music for video games, a lot of people just go, it's in the background, it doesn't matter. That's not the case. And this probably, again, I haven't played these games, I'm not sure here, probably severely affected positively the experience of the game, because you have that level of effort. Even if it is a little bit copy pasty and looped kind of throughout, you take certain sections and just repeat them. That's normal for video game music. You have to make sure it loops well enough, especially if a character's just sitting in that area for that whole time or fighting a boss for that long. Even then, it's still the fact that I can sit here for 7 minutes and continue finding something new to experience in the song and to think about and to dissect and learn from that. In a video game song that's made entirely in MIDI notes and samples that way, that's really cool. I've got nothing but respect for the composer of this one. That is one of the most technically complex things I can imagine a musician doing. Taking the absolute bare minimum and just doing the most with it is sometimes what people say you should do as a musician. Strip yourself down to basics, just learn down to your rudiments, do what you can with the smallest amount of stuff. We do that on the drums all the time. You take away all the toms, just leave yourself with a bass drum, a snare, and a hi-hat. How flexible can you be? That sort of thing. This is what that feels like. How flexible can you be with the absolute bare minimum that you're given? Can you make a song out of that? And I believe this composer did a beautiful job of telling an entire story out of that. But I think I've said what I'm going to say, and I've yapped plenty about this song. Beautiful song, and now I know how much Ultrakill music is probably going to be flooded into all of my requests. I've seen plenty of it on the prior video. I know people want me to get to them, but so far it's just been Pobat on my Patreon producer queue, just sending these songs in from Ultrakill and letting me get to them. And that is the point of being a Patreon producer, after all, is to force me to do requests and stuff. So I'm sure I'll see more from him down the line as well. But if any of you guys want me to get to other ones, maybe I can add it to a semi-regular rotation, and we'll see what songs are in the comments down below, and I will do my best to get to them. But if you like this video and you like hearing me yap about music and such, and you want to see more of that and want to follow me and support me, you know how to do that, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!